also go to this one?
Look at that. That's perfect.
Well, you just got to
No. I'm David Law, second-year med student at UC Davis.
My name is Calvin Kuo, second-year med student at UC Davis School of Medicine.
So school had gotten kind of dull. You know, we basically knew the pattern. It was like, you know, study for 4 weeks, take a test, learn new stuff, study again for 4 weeks, take another test. It was like the same pattern over and over.
It was really just time to branch out and see what it was like to experience medicine just somewhere outside of Davis.
I love my classmates.
Oh, I love my classmates.
Well, they're all inspiring. They're funny. They're great to get along with.
We just have people who are just genuinely good people.
When Hurricane Katrina hit and I heard that they were taking volunteers down south, I jumped on it. You know, by October I had gotten confirmation that they needed volunteers down in Mississippi, and I was ready to go. Again, I love my classmates, but I needed to get out for myself. About to head Gulfport, finally, and go meet our destiny.
There are places I remember.
Well, I think it's just a natural reaction to want to go help. You see so much of it on TV from Anderson Cooper and Oprah. You just hear people's stories and you see the devastation on TV, but it just looks like it's coming out from this little box.
The one important thing I did realize too was that I was going to a disaster zone. I was going to a place where it wasn't like Davis or California. It wasn't like the normal parts of the world.
Just being able to go and see it for yourself and just have that once in a lifetime experience from a selfish point of view was, I think, was really something unique.
I love you more.
Yeah, you've got an area basically from just east of where we are, about 125 miles, you know, maybe even more than that, where, you know, probably half a mile off of the beach, the coast, just completely quashed.
Arriving the first day was crazy. You know, you fly over the coast and you look down, you literally see like a whole like miles upon miles of devastation going up and down the coast, going about a half a mile inland or so.
People's homes, we couldn't see the beach or anything, but people's homes were already completely destroyed. Trees were flattened, and there's just piles of rubble everywhere.
So the clinic was at the Gulf Coast Worship Center in Long Beach, Mississippi. What they had done was that Dorothy and Dale had set up this giant clinic in this worship center.
Dorothy Davison and Dale Betterton. Where do I start?
Dorothy and Dale were amazing people. They're this couple, a nurse practitioner and a retired doctor who travel the world and give out free medical supplies and free medical care.
They took half of the Gulf Coast Worship Center, like the nursery rooms and some of the other staff rooms, and made them into patient rooms. And there was also a well-stocked pharmacy, over $2 million worth of prescription and generic drugs.
One of the coolest parts about the clinic was that there was a surgery tent there that had been donated by the German army. There was a $2 million tent that was literally like a MASH unit, you know.
Mobile surgical unit.
Alright.
We lived outside of in sort of the backwoods in our little tent. Ironically enough, the tent was donated by a Rotary Club from England.
At night it got a little cold sometimes. We had to move indoors at times because the wind was blowing too hard outside. But for the most part, it was completely livable, and it was kind of neat waking up every morning and like jumping up and going, okay, time to start clinic, and you know, waking up in that environment. You know, like we didn't have to go to work. We woke up and worked.
Every night there was a lot of downtime, and Dave and I spent that getting caught up in school. So at night we would study for 2-3 hours in the surgical tent.
Control and those chairs.
Thank you, sir.
And you knew that you could never use
All the volunteers there had great personalities and were there for the right reasons.
It was just a wonderful week to work there because there were no egos, and people just wanted to do a good job at what they did, and you really got that sense that they were able to do that.
We had a fully functional clinic there in Long Beach, and it was pretty amazing what we could accomplish with all that.
When I go to a foreign country, especially third world, I always know one thing.
Exit strategy.
Exit strategy. Where is the U.S. Embassy and how much money do I have to be buried in my pocket to bribe my way there?
The second day we were there, we went to this church service in Waveland. Waveland is this little city by the coast that was all but wiped out in this hurricane.
So we went to this cathedral right along the water, and the cathedral had flooded.
And this church, before the hurricane, had invested a couple $1 million to have another layer of brick built outside of it, to have it hurricane-proofed.
They moved the Sunday Mass to one of the buildings next door. The building also didn't have any walls, but it still had its foundation.
It was pretty crazy because, you know, they had a little generator there that was powering an electric-powered organ. So they were playing church hymns. They had a little altar set up. Father Tracy, who was the father of this parish, he was walking around and greeting the people. And even though Waveland had been wiped out, the community still came back every week, every Sunday, and gathered in that spot. And just to have, you know, just to celebrate the Mass and everything. And the thing, the warehouse was open air, so I could, as I was watching the Mass, behind I could see behind the priest, I could see the bulldozers going up and down the beach carrying rubble and rebuilding and everything. And the ocean was right there. And you know, it was kind of eerie thinking, wow, that's the same ocean that came and destroyed this whole stretch of land too.
Stay on the coast.
So after Mass, we drove in the SUV up the coast of Biloxi. It was supposed to be one of the really nice neighborhoods, and you'd see the plantation style of homes, and what we saw was just empty lots and just rubble. I mean, you'd see staircases, steps, you see stoops. You would see them, but they're all leading up to nowhere. And that's because the houses had completely just been destroyed. And we'd walk through some of this rubble and we'd see remains from people's homes. We'd see the bathtub flipped over. We'd see old records. We'd see, you know, porcelain figurines, things like that, just lying around. And we would know which lot was which lot because they would spray paint the address, the street address, on the steps. And it was funny, sometimes people would say trespass and we'll shoot you, even though there was nobody there.
Looks good. 10 miles up the coast. Houses are just destroyed. It's just amazing how much destruction can go on. The only thing standing around here is an old church that they had to rebuild with bricks after Hurricane Camille in 1969. There's just all kinds of construction workers out here 7 days a week trying to get this place back on its feet.
So that was nuts. It was ridiculous. You know, like it was absurd. It looked like someone had taken a hand grenade and gone to each house and blown it up one by one, and it was for miles and miles. And I don't know. The pictures speak for themselves, really.
And if you built it right, I mean, not that you couldn't conceivably overflood it if you had water.
You can tell they boarded up the top.
Well, some of this.
This is by far the most interesting case I've had all day, and it requires an overnight stay at the clinic. I haven't seen anything like this in all my medical experience. So this is the patient. He's a 24-year-old medical student from California. He's hooked up on IV. He's been throwing up. And, so Calvin got sick. You know, we were sitting there, we had a good meal, and then all of a sudden we were relaxing. He just kind of stood up and left.
That's like the video, right?
Next thing I know, the ER docs are putting an IV in his arm, and that was a kind of funny transition. Like, okay, suddenly one of our own is the patient, but it wasn't a a bad illness or anything. It's kind of funny in retrospect, and I got some great pictures to show for it too. So, whatever. So the next couple of days, we volunteered. We were sent to this place in Biloxi. Biloxi is kind of the more urban settings, kind of the metropolis, the other big city that was affected by the hurricane, other than New Orleans. And Biloxi was a change of pace because we finally got to see how the hurricane impacted an urban setting.
The biggest industry in the Biloxi area was the casinos. And when we drove on the freeway to get to the Biloxi Free Clinic, the casinos had all been kind of destroyed, or their signs had been swept away by probably some of the wind. We got to the Free Clinic, and it was basically at the Biloxi Yankee Stadium, and it was a locker room that was converted into a medical clinic. So it was one room separated off by just makeshift curtains and all the medications lined up against the walls.
We did vitals and did a lot of intake, but mostly this is the point where we got to hear patient stories. And for them, like for us, this is, honestly, their stories tell themselves. Their words tell themselves.
Since the hurricane, I lost everything in the hurricane except my life and my 6 children, and my 27 grandchildren, and my 22 great-grandchildren. So I thank God to be alive.
I had the house insurance, but I didn't have flood insurance because I surmised that I would never, in my lifetime, ever see another Camille.
Yeah.
But this thing was much worse.
Yeah, it happened, and I was in the house when it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you stayed.
Yeah, I stayed.
You didn't evacuate.
1.5 feet
Wow.
inside. Stood up on the kitchen counter. Water was up here.
Wow.
No,